Happy St. Patrick's Day. Now, in all these towns I've spent my priesthood in, people have really celebrated St. Patrick's Day. Not everyone, and not everyone is Irish, but everyone seems to have a healthy regard for the celebration of the Feast of St. Patrick. Now the problem with that is, it seems to always be about corned beef and cabbage or green beer. And I don't have anything against either of those two things. I like beer and I like corned beef and cabbage. But we do need, I think, to give some thought to the reason we're having a celebration and the person whose life we're celebrating. And so I do enjoy speaking about St. Patrick because I think he's somebody who can really inform us about living the Christian life, especially in difficult circumstances. See, St. Patrick was born in England or Scotland, nobody is completely sure where, in about the year 385. He lived in a very wealthy family, but when he was about 16, Irish raiders came and they took him and the family's servants and many of his relatives into captivity. He was captured, he was taken back to Ireland, and there he was sold into slavery. Now he spent 6 years as a slave, and during that time he was set to tending the sheep. So he would go off into the wilderness for months and months at a time with the sheep, and there he suffered greatly from cold and hunger and loneliness. While he was out there by himself, he thought about his troubles, he thought about the way life worked, and at some point he began to pray. His prayers probably began with, "Why, God? Why did this happen to me?" But as time went on, he grew closer and closer and closer to the Lord, and he became much happier, and he became much more spiritual. Well, he had a vision once, and in the vision, the Lord said to him, "Patrick, leave your sheep and go to the coast." And so Patrick woke up, left his sheep, and went to the coast. And there was a passing ship. And so he flagged the ship down and swam out from shore, and he was picked up and rescued and taken home. And that could have been the end of the story. But Patrick had this close relationship with God, and he wanted to be a priest, and so he became one, and he realized that those Irish people, those people who enslaved him, they needed to hear the good news. They needed to hear about Jesus Christ, and so he went back to Ireland, and he spent the rest of his life there. He spent the rest of his life preaching and teaching and helping those who had hurt him so. And that was the story of St. Patrick. He was the first Bishop of Ireland, and he was one of our greatest missionaries. Now, when I think about St. Patrick, there's a few good lessons that are obvious from the way he lived his life and the way his life unfolded. First of all, he experienced grave misfortune, and it was misfortune at the hands of other people. He didn't spend too much time wallowing in the sadness, saying, "Oh, why is this happening to me?" But in those difficult moments, in those difficult months and years spent out in the wilderness, he grew closer and closer to God. How often do we blame God for our troubles? Patrick wasn't that way. He embraced the Lord, and it had great effects. Secondly, when God spoke to him, he acted. And sometimes we have a little trouble with that. We have this idea about the good that could be done, and we can always think of 15 reasons why maybe it shouldn't be us doing that good. Not Patrick. Once he felt the Lord was leading him somewhere, off he went. He trusted. That's wonderful. Thirdly, he had that wonderful inclination to help those who had harmed him. I don't know how it works in your life, but when somebody hurts me, there's this urge to hurt them back. When somebody is nasty to me, there's an urge to be nasty in return. But Patrick was a true Christian. When people treated him with hatred, when they treated him with cruelty, he returned kindness. He spent the rest of his life doing what he could to help them to see the light, to help those people come to salvation. And so when we think of St. Patrick, we shouldn't just think of things like green beer or being Irish or corned beef and cabbage or the celebration itself, but instead we should be celebrating the fact that there was this great and wonderful Christian who did so much good for so many, because he's a good example for us all in life's difficult moments. Have a good day.